Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. It's Tuesday. I'm Bree Maestas, and I'm here with Zach Seegers and Joey Richards. Guys, how are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm doing very well. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the podcast we have set up today. Zach came up with this in the spur of the moment. And no. This is
That's
okay.
going to
That's a
be
spoiler for
tomorrow's
a future
show.
episode. That's a spoiler for a future episode. This is a mailbag episode, which I'm still very excited about. But yeah, mailbag. We're gonna answer your guys' questions. I went through it, wrote down some notes, so I'm excited to get into that as well.
Yeah. I'm really excited for this show. It's always great to interact with you guys. Make sure you join the LTB Discord so you can ask questions there. Links can be found on all our socials. Go over to any of our other socials either and ask us questions. Do that whenever. If you just like at LTB and are like, here's a question for the next mailbag, I'll definitely make note of it and add it to the next one. You don't have to wait around for the mailbag tweet. Send us in questions. We love interacting with you guys.
You guys are covering it so well. I feel like I don't have anything to do here. So I'll just say, if you're watching over on Twitter, you can jump on over to the Mile High Sports YouTube or Facebook stream. We are live right now. You can search Mile High Sports, or you can go in the threaded tweet and click on either of those links so you can ask your questions live, and we'll get to them tonight. Super excited for that. We'll jump right into it, but we have a couple of things to cover first, as it's been a little bit of a busy day. 2 days removed now from the Broncos loss to the Titans, and we have some injuries updates to talk about. But it's more so in the lines of a current Denver Broncos football player who's now on IR due to an injury is suing the NFL for the injury he sustained on the sidelines, tripping over what looked like carpet and rugs, and was injured quite significantly with an ACL, I believe, tear. Aaron Patrick, I was honestly devastated when this injury happened, and I'm glad that he's taking the necessary protocols. What do you guys think this changes? How do you feel about watching this unravel? It happened about, 5-6 hours ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one. I haven't looked too far into it, I'll be honest, guys. But if there was an issue, he should go and get his money. Like, that's a substantial injury, right? I think that's fine to go hold the NFL responsible for, because the NFL holds players responsible for everything. If you wear the wrong socks, you're getting fined at a game, right?
That's a great point.
Like, it just is what it is. So I think that if there was an issue, and like I said, I haven't looked too far into it, so I don't know what the if there was or if there wasn't. I don't really have an opinion on that. But if there was, he should definitely be suing. He should definitely be getting his money. I hope Aaron Patrick gets everything he deserves.
Yeah, I think that was put beautifully. Joey knocked it out of the park there. I don't know enough about the legal situation, obviously, but good on Aaron Patrick. I mean, you're looking at a special teams ace. Like, you could not have a more dubious roster standing in the NFL. And he tore his ACL. Like, that could be career ending. And it's because a match shouldn't be there. I don't know. And even if it is, the NFL has to review their policies. Players are going to be running off onto the sidelines. The chances of injury on those plays should be minimized. Joey said the NFL is $1 trillion organization, not $1 billion, $1 trillion organization. They can break off a couple million for Aaron Patrick. That's chump change.
We see it all the time with videographers and photographers, sideline reporters, and then people who are just auxiliary to the entirety of the game for the NFL, aside from coaches, team assistants. There's a lot of people on the sidelines at all times. He was trying to avoid a cameraman. He stepped on those mats, twisted his knee just entirely awkwardly. It's bad enough to be injured on the field, in action, colliding with another player, doing what your job entails. But the fact that he was unsafe in a visiting team's establishment, I hope that it does change things, because there's always cords all over the place. There's always equipment everywhere. And I just think it's important to highlight it. And I really hope that he's able to get what he is owed. The last I checked, I believe it was 25,000, but I feel like it should have been more.
Yeah.
If it's 25,000, like I have no idea how much it is. If it's 25,000, I hope the NFL just settles it and gives him everything he wants. Like I know that's not how the world works. I understand, but 25,000 is absolutely nothing for the NFL, and Aaron Patrick's career is potentially over. And that's like a fraction of what he would have made if that NFL career continued, even as a back into the roster special teamer. So I really, really hope he gets that.
I'm sorry. So yeah, I misspoke a little bit. The number that I saw must have been related to something else in addition to. So Patrick seeks unlimited damages from lost wages. He was to make $825,000 salary this season, but it was reduced to $455,000 if injured. Based on the prorated dollars he received from each contract split, the injury cost Patrick $238,000. Performance pool bonus, yada, 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 attorneys, estimated pay. He's scheduled to make $940,000 next year. So a lot of numbers being thrown at you. I would hope that, yeah, he's able to seek as much as possible. SoFi Stadium is owned by a pretty rich ownership stake. I don't know who will end up footing that bill, but yeah, that's just a terrible ending to the news either way, but I hope he's able to get paid as he so deserves. So thanks for allowing me to get that out there as I search that information. Any other new injuries that you wanted to cover? I know we talked about it yesterday, but I think a lot of that is still plaguing the Broncos. Did we hear back on Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Jerry Jeudy news came back positive, right? It seems more day-to-day than it does. It seems more of like a day-to-day issue than we initially thought, because when he first went down, I was definitely under the belief, I'm like, damn, Jerry Jeudy might be done for the season. And I saw that comment a lot. I think most people thought that, if I'm being honest, just by the way, it was non-contact injuries always scare me more. He just fell down, folded. I thought for sure there was something wrong there, and it just seems like a sprain. I'm hope he comes back sooner the better, because like I said, guys, last podcast, the Broncos right now, you're releasing your wide receiver room that was Tim Patrick, Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, would then be Courtland Sutton, Jalen Virgil, and Kendall Hinton. That's a lot to rely on. Two guys that Jalen Virgil just got brought up and actually played his first snaps this last week. And then Kendall Hinton, I mean, he's been on and off the practice squad the entire season.
Yeah, no, this is massive news for the Denver Broncos. I thought that Jerry Jeudy's career was over, potentially.
Career?
Like when you saw the Achilles thing rumored, like I think if a player, like you've seen what it did to Cam Akers, I think it ruined Cam Akers' career. And then I think you consider Jerry Jeudy's play style. A lot of his play style has to do with the Achilles. I think if that was torn, it really could be. Not like he would never play again, but never be the same dude again. And in that sense, career ending, career changing, however you want to view it. And now it seems very minor, and like he very well could play this week. Broncos will need him. This is one of the few easy, or maybe not easy, but few winnable games on their schedule. And I don't know, Jerry Jeudy's, I think, the most valuable weapon on that offense right now. So you absolutely need him healthy.
Yeah.
I really felt like the reaction we saw from him on the field was that made it seem like it was that bad. So I'm glad that it wasn't worse. We've seen some players look like they walk off just fine from the field and have a season-ending ACL. So could have been a lot worse. I'm glad that it wasn't. We'll keep you posted here for the Let's Talk Broncos crew on all the updates for everything Broncos related, including injuries. And I just want to remind anyone who is watching that if you have questions for us, you got to go ahead and type them there in the chat on Facebook or YouTube. We'll get into some that we received over on Twitter today. I really liked Jolene's. If you could change one thing to make the Broncos better, staff, player, scheme, uniform color, what would you do? What or who would you change that element to be? Do you guys have an answer for what you would change currently for the Denver Broncos?
So if it's currently, like right to this minute, I would change players. The Broncos are extremely injured. If you go up and down our offense, right, we have a 4th and 5th string tackle in. We don't have a good running back to speak of. Our wide receiver core is beaten up to hell. What looked like I said earlier, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy is now Cortland Sutton, Kendall Hinton, and Jalen Virgil. And then Russell Wilson's been underperforming, and I think quarterback trumps head coach in a lot of circumstances. I would change that for sure. Now, if we're looking at a fully healthy Broncos roster, I think Nathaniel Hackett would have to be the biggest choice, right? You're stuck with Wilson. You're married to Wilson now. He's your guy that, because you gave him that big contract, you traded for all of that. You're stuck with him for at least a season, right, or more.
But the premise is you're not.
Yeah, but I guess
That's
I would
the entire premise to me. Like that's why my answer is Russell Wilson. Because if I'm changing one thing about the Broncos roster to make him better, it's Russell Wilson. I don't know. I'm not convinced right now, considering Russell Wilson's churned through the last 4 offensive coordinators. I'm not convinced that like you change the coach and it convinces Russell Wilson to make the plays that are there within the offense. I think the problem is the quarterback, and you factor in the contract and how much of a nightmare that is. If you would have magic spell to change one thing about the Denver Broncos, I'm swapping out Russell Wilson. I do it for the obvious candidates: Allen, Mahomes, Herbert, Jackson. Do it for all them, obviously. But hell, give me Geno Smith. I would race. I would sprint a marathon if it meant the Broncos would swap out Russell Wilson for Geno Smith. Because my goodness, is Geno Smith a decidedly better quarterback running a very similar scheme to the Broncos. So I think he's an interesting one where you could really see the plug and play.
So I'm going to let Bree go here, but I just want to note that I have a follow-up question after this. Something that I think spices up this conversation a little bit.
It's just what we need, a little bit spicy here for Let's Talk Broncos. I will go, but I also wanted to give shouts out to Frankie, Christopher Hart, Robert Armstrong, and Wayne King, who have joined us today. Wayne King says, can we seek damages from Russ for our heartaches? I don't think so, but I think we should at least try. If we flood them enough, they can't ignore all of us. Robert says, use him to tank for Arch Manning. That's an interesting concept that I've been hearing, and I think that's still a ways out.
It is a little
but
bit
it would
out.
be something. It's nice to dream, for sure. Absolutely. My answer is obviously quarterback.
I think that's
but we're going to kick that horse until it's dead. So maybe to go in a little bit different direction. I think bringing in a coach that's less of a bobblehead, is that a mean thing to say? I would consider myself a bobblehead sometimes because I'm just kind of talking and waving myself around. But I feel like until Nathaniel Hackett evaluates and changes the things that are not going right, which I don't think he's going to be able to accomplish this season, it's going to be an issue. I think Russell Wilson has a higher floor than Nathaniel Hackett does, and I would hope that somehow someone's able to wrangle Wilson and get him to perform at least where we thought his floor was, because right now the bottom fell the fuck out and there's an issue here. So as I posted earlier today over on Twitter, it's not the fault of the team in an entirety. It's the fault of the offense being unable to score some points. So at the end of the day, it comes down to QB play. Is it the QB or is it his ability to function? Because right now it's just not working. So I want to throw that out there. And then I do want to touch on the uniform color because I just like that. So before we move on, I don't know what I will do if the Broncos move on from orange. And then I think orange is the primary color. Never been a big fan of the navy. Don't care for the creamsicle. Don't like Robin's egg blue. But if you take the orange away from me, we will have words. Joey, what was your follow-up question?
Yeah, so let's go under, like I was kind of going off of earlier. Let's go under the circumstances that you are married to Russell Wilson. Do you think the bigger issue is the supporting cast around Russell Wilson at the moment, or do you think that the bigger issue is coaching? Which one would you rather change?
So, okay, if we're going to go that direction, we thought at the start of the season that with Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and KJ Hamler, and Russell Wilson, that those 5 in their own were going to light up a bunch of defenses. Like, I think that was the consensus. And now with Patrick out and Hamler out, and now Jerry Jeudy suffering a bit of an injury, that all of a sudden it's because Wilson was he that tied? Was his eliteness that tied to his targets? Are you seeing the same thing with Aaron Rodgers losing Devontae Adams? Like, Derek Carr's not doing markedly better with Adams, so I don't think that it's about the weapons.
Okay.
No,
What do you think?
I mean, in that world, if we remove Russell Wilson from the conversation, I think you change the coach. But I think that's only because they're the 2 biggest culprits. And I also think it's a hard question because I don't think it matters. Like, I'm of the opinion right now, and I hope to be proven wrong. I'm of the opinion now that, like, Russell Wilson's not really going to get fixed unless you get like the perfect head coach. Like that can really coach him up, snap him out of this funk, wake him up. I think and it needs more talent on offense, obviously. But I think the players there actually complement Russ's skill set well. Like Patrick, vertical receiver, KJ, vertical receiver, Jerry Jeudy, we've seen more signs of him as a vertical receiver this year. And then, of course, Cortland Sutton, too. I think it just outside of the offensive line, which, of course, needs restructuring, but I'm hesitant to blame the offensive line because that was Seattle's whole story for a decade. And then Russ leaves and the offensive line looks wildly better. So I don't know. I'd go coaching, but I don't think it's going to matter. And as long as Russ is the quarterback of the Denver Broncos, I think he is a cinder block tied to your feet as the mob throws you off the boat and into the Hudson.
Yeah. Frankie seems to think that improved center play probably wins a couple of the games from earlier this year as a small one.
So I'm building off of what Frankie, to answer my own question. I think that I would rather change personnel. Truthfully, I think that's a bigger issue right now. I think at the end of the day, it is a players' league. Like, coaching matters more than any other sport, probably in football, but it is still a players' league. Talent trumps all. You can't go out there with subpar talent and hope to win. It's just not going to happen, guys. And that's what the Broncos are doing. We had a lot of quarterback away talk at the beginning of the season, and I'm not so sure. I think that the Broncos could have a lot of different quarterbacks under center right now, and with the roster they've surrounded them with.
Personnel, like taking like a superstar lineup or what?
We don't even have. I don't think we have subpar at anything. I think like we're seeing the second worst offense with the second worst offensive talent. Like, I think that's what we're dealing with right now.
Really,
dude? Like, yeah, I do. Like, at the moment, for sure.
Oh, at the moment, yeah.
And then even at the beginning of the season, like, Garrett Bowles was underperforming. We still didn't really have a run game. The interior offensive line has been bad this entire season. We had like Cam Fleming, who looked good, still Cam Fleming. I would have liked to see him longer. Maybe he proved me wrong. At right tackle, like, I don't know. We had Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton has underperformed, while Jerry Jeudy has overperformed. That's still not like a drastic mark to hit. Like, I think it's been bad from the beginning of the season to now from everybody.
I agree, but I think when you see like roster-wide regression, you look at player development, and I mean that's coaching. And I also think like it depends what you're replacing it with. If you're replacing this current Broncos roster with like replacement level players at every position on offense versus a replacement level coach, that's really tough. If it's superstars, I think you're right. Like if you're putting the Pro Bowl roster or like the best coach in the league, I think I'm with you on the talent. The talent would overwhelm.
So where do you think the Broncos rank if they have like average offensive line, like a running back that's serviceable, getting the job done?
I think they'd be right in the middle, right? They'd be 16th. I think they're probably like
great, though.
20th. I think they're like somewhere between 20 and 25 right now. Well, I think they're probably 32 or 31 in terms of the coach.
Because
When healthy,
I don't know. I
this
saw that
injury team
stat.
is terrible.
The Broncos would literally be 8-1 if they scored how many more points? I forget exactly what the stat was.
18, but that's why I think it's
like that. I don't think the coaching could have got this interior offensive line to play better. I don't maybe Munchak, but we're talking about the best offensive line coach in the league.
We're firsthand seeing the regression from Mike Munchak to Butch Berry. I think coaching's a huge part of the offensive line.
But that's my point. Like Mike Munchak is like that's like the Pro Bowl roster. Mike Munchak is the Pro Bowl offensive line coach. Like yeah. I think how many coaches are offensive line coaches are better than Mike Munchak? Like if the Broncos were going to move from Mike Munchak, you were going to see regression. It's not just Butch Berry. I'm not impressed with Butch Berry at all, but you are going to see not as good offensive line coaching moving on from Mike Munchak no matter what, because he was that good. Like that it's like the Pro Bowl roster, that one, I guess.
No, I think that's a good point. If you got the offensive line playing better and then I guess my thing with that is even early in the season when like the roster wasn't so devastated by injury, like there's been plays to be made in this offense every single week that Russ is just not making.
Totally.
And I feel like that again is the root problem with a lot of this. And if you're not changing Russ, I don't know if the way to fix that is like affording him more time in the pocket and guys getting more open because they've been so wide the fuck open. Like I almost think that's what comes down to me. You need a coach to just like snap Russ out of it. But it's a really fun debate, Joey. I don't want to shut you down. I'm just enjoying
No, it's a good debate. It's a good debate.
I like the debate. Robert Armstrong says, I disagree. A lot of teams are slim and still winning. It boils down to bad play calling and Russ throwing to ghosts. I watched him live. He missed a wide open checkdowns. I have a statement for this, but it's not really anything conclusive. When you see a coach like Vrabel be able to use Tannehill and Willis to beat a lot of teams while they're down via injury and using a really great defense and not great quarterback play, a lot of it might point to serviceable offenses if the coach knows what to do with them in these situations. I think that a fantastic coach is going to be able to figure it out. A brand new coach is not going to be able to manage well whatsoever. The balance is not here. You have a very volatile Denver Broncos team that is now impacted so much by injuries that you don't know where else you can go with this, which brings me to another thought that I just want to play off of here. And I believe that it was Wayne. Yeah, Wayne King said, now that the O-line is beat to death, and I'm going to throw in everyone at this point, he says bench Russ to put younger and quicker Rippon in. I'm not saying I agree with this, but at this point, you don't want to risk Wilson getting more injured than he already has been throughout this season. How do you guys feel about kind of throwing in the towel at this point?
I wouldn't call it throwing in the towel. Like, obviously, you got to try and win games. The Broncos won't do this. I won't seriously advise that they do this because it kind of lives outside reality. Selfishly, I want to see them do it because I think if you gave Brett Rippon a good sample size in this offense, the offense wouldn't drop off a lot. I think it might be a little worse, but I don't think it dropped off a lot. You look at what the offense produced against that Jets game. I keep saying it. It's right in the middle of the road with what Russell Wilson produced. Right. If you list out all of Russell Wilson's performances, it's right in the middle of them this season. Totally average. And against the second best defense the Broncos have played this season. Like, I want to see more. I want to really drill down on this question we're talking about. Go back to the initial question, which is maybe, and no offense to Julian, I'll say easier. It's a little easier, I think, where we are all kind of anti-Russell Wilson, or at least that's an option. You can throw out that Russell Wilson is the biggest problem with the Broncos. And I don't know. I think that's there. I think it's evidence. I lost my train of thought a little. Sorry. But yeah, it would prove it. Sorry, that's what I was saying. It would prove it a little bit. You give Brett Rippon to Hackett, and kind of what I was saying yesterday. Like, I'd love to see Geno Smith with Hackett, a quarterback that just does exactly what he's told and exactly what the offense gives him. I'd love to see what that guy looks like in this offense because I think it'd be considerably better than what Russ has produced.
We had one of those on the roster. Actually, we had two of them. Christopher Hart says Broncos' overall talent on offense is lackluster. O-line is in shambles. Wide receiver corps hindered by injuries. Javonte's injury is brutal. Not a lot to write home about. Need a revamp at most positions. That's a nice little summation of what we've just been discussing here. And I appreciate that, Christopher Hart. Joey, I feel like you had something you wanted to add to that.
To Christopher's comment? No,
just like to what Zach said, but you can talk about whatever you want.
Okay, cool. I'll just add on to Christopher's comment real quick. Yeah, I mean, I tweeted this out. I don't think the Broncos have had average at any position group this year. I just don't and a lot of that, a lot of this, we were a quarterback away talk in the offseason, I think came from, thinking Cortland Sutton was going to be the receiver that we thought he was going to be, right? Or that he could be the one, the dynamic and extremely physical and ultra athletic receiver like we all thought Cortland Sutton was. He hasn't been that this year. I'm worried about those injuries. It's mostly regressions is what we've seen from players, which is why now it's like, oh my gosh, what we thought we had at offense, it's nothing like it. It's crazy. It really is crazy. The Broncos could really go into the draft at this moment and be like, we're going to take the best offensive player available, and you probably make out pretty good. That's where we're standing right now.
Yeah, best offensive player available. I'm with Joey. Try and find a difference maker on offense because the Broncos don't have any. Outside of maybe Dulcich and maybe Javonte Williams, depending on what he's like after the injury.
The slander, it never stops. Who are you eyeing right now?
That's respectful. We've seen 4 games.
Listen, I bought in the same way. You know what's going to happen here? I bought in the same way I bought in when Drew Lock was supposed to be my saving grace. And then Dulcich comes in, makes a little bit of a wave. And I think, you know what? This is the guy who's going to carry the Broncos offense going forward. But in actuality, Dulcich is actually fairly talented. So I should see this going pretty well for me. Look, I dug myself so you couldn't get me first. I am happy with my performance here. I do have a question for you both, and I just got sidetracked just a little bit. It's gone. I'm so sorry about that. Never mind. Let's hop into the next question that I have here from Twitter. Headless John asks, and this is NFL Junkie 1013 over on Twitter, when will Fields be a good quarterback as opposed to a running back playing quarterback?
Yeah, I have something to say about this for sure. Okay, here's what I will say. The NFL has changed, guys, and this is something we have to wrap our brains around. This Justin Fields guy running the football, that's like a valuable part of your offense. It is a valuable part of your offense. It really is. If your quarterback can run the ball like Justin Fields, I think people with quarterbacks running, people just put them all under one basket and don't actually evaluate the skill of them running the ball. Just like passing, there's some better passers than there are others, right? Just with accuracy, you can evaluate accuracy and be like, he's more accurate than that guy. People don't like doing that with running. Justin Fields legitimately may be the best running quarterback in football. And I know that's a hot take. People are going to throw out the Lamar Jackson stuff. But Fields, I think, is faster, and I think he's harder to take down just physically. He's a big, big guy. There's not many quarterbacks that are going to run 70 yards and could take it to the house on you. That's a weapon. That's something that you can utilize in your offense. And it makes your passing game that much easier when your quarterback is a running threat. You have to allocate more to stopping the run or stopping the quarterback from running. And then it opens things up in the passing game. This is something that happens just scheme-wise, because you have to scheme against it at this point. Justin Fields has gone 2 weeks in a row running 150-plus yards on teams. That's ridiculous. So this is a trait that I don't think people should throw away and discard and be like, oh, he's just a runner. No, he's a damn good runner, and that offense can utilize it. And Wayne King here said he's a decent thrower as well. I think he's a decent thrower as well, too. And guess what the running games help him do? It's going to buy him more time to develop even into a better passer. This is all things I think people should keep in mind when you're evaluating Justin Fields.
Yeah, it's nonsense. I'm going to be honest right now. It's nonsense. I don't know the reason for it. I'll say it's certainly steeped in old racial prejudice, like 100%, dating back to like the 50s and 60s. I don't know if that's still the reason people believe that, but that's definitely the history behind those running back remarks. Um, it's also just ridiculous. Any way you want to measure offensive production, Fields is getting so much more out of what is there in Chicago. I think all of us, everyone in the football discussion world, was talking about how bad the Bears supporting cast was this offseason. If you didn't say it was the worst in the NFL, it had to be in your bottom five. And it still is. It's terrible. Just awful supporting cast. That offense is seventh since they had a Thursday night game week 6. So they get the mini bye off of that, 10 days off. They adjust the offense during that time. Week 7 on, the Bears are 7th in offensive EPA. And then they have the 4th best run game. They do not have the 7th best offensive talent. They do not have the 4th best talent to run the ball. Justin Fields is dramatically changing the run game. He's making Khalil Herbert a lot better. He's making David Montgomery a lot better. He's making the offensive line a lot better in terms of run blocking and everything. He is elevating that unit like crazy. Okay, well, let's talk about him as a passer. In terms of CPOE plus EPA composite over the last 4 games, he is 7th in the NFL. That's factoring him in as a runner and him in as a passer as well. 7th in the NFL. If you look at just EPA, isolate his running stuff, it jumps to 6th. Like he's tremendous and he is really accurate. The other thing that's so frustrating with Fields, the narrative around him rather, is that people say he can't process or can't read the field. And that's just so untrue. I think Nate Tice puts it better than anyone I've heard, where he's like, he knows the exact right answer on every play. And it's just like, or the best answer, the optimum answer. And he's just like, give me the time I need to work to find that receiver. And I want to make he wants the optimum play every time. And like, it takes him a second to get there, to read it all out and make sure, like, he knows the answers to the test. It just takes him a while to write them down. And that's a process that can get sped up with repetitions. And he already has crazy athletic gifts that they're leaning into now and are buying him the time to develop the mental side of the game. Because like I said, he's already elevating the Bears offense to being a top 25% unit, or in the top 25% of teams in the league. And they shouldn't be there. They have the worst talent.
Frankie also says, I don't know where people get this crazy idea that Fields is some project quarterback. He was top 15 QB pick, making the year 2 jump we've come to see from rookie QBs.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I think it's also good to note that the change in coaching, play calling, Getsy's really impressed me with his play calling. And I mean, it took the Bears a while to utilize Justin Fields in the run game, but since Getsy's been around, I mean, he figured it out, and that Bears offense has been humming since.
And I was wrong. They actually ranked 6th. Over the last 4 games, here are the offenses that are better than Chicago's. Miami Dolphins, best offense in football. Kansas City Chiefs, the other best offense in football. Cincinnati Bengals, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers. That's the list.
I love
their talent is considerably worse than all those teams.
Side note, I love watching San Fran. Anyways, carry on.
Are you guys good on the Justin Fields conversation?
Yeah, I got that all out. I needed
got
that.
it all off your chest.
Thanks for asking that question, by the way. I needed that.
Thanks, John, over on Twitter. We appreciate you. Hopefully you got the answer you were seeking. Or maybe you didn't, and that's why we come here every single week to maybe challenge some opinions that exist out there. Last question that I have for us right now, as comments continue to roll in. Frankie asks, waffles, French toast, or pancakes? I'm interested to see what you guys say, because sometimes we don't agree on these things.
I have a feeling that we won't. Me personally, I'm going with option A, waffles. I like waffles, definitely the best. French toast, cool. Pancakes, they're all right. Waffles is where it's at. If you're not picking waffles out of this lineup here, I'm judging you. I judge people off their food all the time. So yeah, I'm going with waffles for sure. Yeah, so pick your answer carefully. I'm judging the chat right now. Robert, appreciate you, man.
Robert says, I appreciate
Robert.
y'all coming on. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate
You're
you
awesome too, man.
Yep, we're here every single day. And now Robert will be on Thursdays. You'll be able to catch Joey and Frankie for their draft pod. So we're full. It's every single day. You can't get away from us. Frankie it says the answer is French toast. He does not agree with us.
Out of one of my future co-hosts, we have a French toast eater. This is absurd.
It is absurd. Robert says waffles.
I think Frankie makes a good point. Now, the wrong answer is pancakes. Let's get that out of the way. If you say pancakes, I think that is dead on the wrong answer, because here's my thing with pancakes. They are waffles. The mix is the same in a different shape, and the waffle shape is better.
Pancakes is like saying Drake is your favorite rapper. It's just like super mainstream. It's like, okay, I get what you're on.
Pancakes is the best. French toast. You get a good French toast at a restaurant. Like there was this restaurant by my old place in Lafayette, 95A. Shout out there. Used to be a busboy. And they had really good French toast. Where like it had a bit of like orange zest involved, and it was like the best I've had of the three is French toast. Like peak would be French toast. If I just have to bank on one for reliability, it's waffles.
Okay, see, this is how I know you guys are uncultured, because have you ever had a Belgian waffle? Like the big, thick with the crispy edges? Because if you're saying that French toast and like French toast is never going to beat a nice, fresh Belgian waffle.
A nice French toast at a restaurant totally will.
By the way, Zach, I was on board with what you were saying. Good. Like I was getting it at least. Like I was understanding a lot of what you were saying until you started speaking about orange zest on your French toast. So like, what are we doing?
No, you gotta try. I understand in theory.
This is ridiculous.
Joey, I'm taking you to this restaurant.
This sounds like
it offsets the sugar.
Field trip. Frankie's right, man. A beautiful French toast. I think the peak of French toast is higher. I think the floor of waffle and like just the general who they are is better.
We got a special guest in the chat. Davis Breakdowns. Robbie says backwards hat Joey. First guy out, last guy in.
We got Robbie and Frankie clips for our Wednesday show. So
yes,
stay tuned for that.
By the way, Zach eats Zach's the type to brush his teeth and then go drink a whole big glass of orange juice. That's right up his type of alley, from what I'm hearing. Anyways,
I'm taking Joey. I'm taking you. We're going on an LTB field trip to this restaurant, and I'm going to change your world.
Yeah, sure. All right.
I like how I was conveniently left out of the conversation, but that's fine.
Answer. Assert yourself.
She said Belgian waffles.
I did. I meant on the field trip. All right, I'm done with you guys because right now we're going to talk about signables. Signables is a cool new way to display your fanhood in your office, home, or fan cave. Signables are flat footballs with digitally printed signatures on them of your favorite players, including yours truly, Russell Wilson. They're a great gift for your favorite football fan this holiday season. I think I'll get Zach and Joey each one a piece. Collect your favorite player or your favorite team and go check them out at signables.com. I'll bring the boys back.
Let's go.
Zach, can you display your signables?
Yeah, it's right here. I can't take it off the wall. It's stuck to the wall. I want it displayed when people come into my office. Great collectible option. You can get, let's say, hey, I don't want Russell Wilson. This guy sucks. You can get Aaron Rodgers and think about what could have been. You could get Joe Burrow. He also wears orange and is a good quarterback. That's pretty exciting.
I think
if you want to go full turncoat, Devontae Adams. I think not Tom Brady. Kyler Murray, I think.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's exciting. He likes Call of Duty.
Oh my God, I'm a great stocking stuffer. Just want to throw that out there for everybody. Christmas is around the corner. Go get somebody a signables football.
Oh, I mean, as long as you purchase it, it's all good with me. Let's go to my favorite time of the evening. It's Joey's question of the day.
Yes, everybody. Joey's question of the day, your favorite segment. Let's see here. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, here's the question. What Major League Baseball team was John Elway drafted by?
Oh, what team was John Elway drafted? Oh, Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball team.
I know this.
Bree, do you know it?
Hold on.
I could even tell you what position he was supposed to play
I
for.
really hate playing this game. Go ahead, Zach.
I'm sorry, Bree. It's
Yeah,
the Yankees. And Steinbrenner told him like had a display ready for him. And it was like the Yankee Stadium baseball field, like a little model. And it had John Elway's number. Like it had the Yankee starting lineup, and then except for one of the outfield spots was swapped out with John Elway's number. And he was like, "Yeah, come to the Yankees. This is where your thing is." And John Elway surprisingly turned it down. That's pretty sweet.
Frankie guessed the Padres. Wayne King guessed the Yankees. He also said the pitcher. What was his position?
Outfield, but pitcher would make sense. He could sling it, as does outfield.
Robert, I'm not reading it out loud, but I appreciate it. That was really funny. I've been laughing this entire pod. I apologize for that. That's just what we do here at Let's Talk Broncos. We have a really great time while giving you the very best Broncos coverage that we can for Mile High Sports. Joey and Zach, where can everybody find your work?
Yeah, everybody. Make sure you're following Mile High Sports for my writing. I have an offensive tackle piece coming out very, very, very soon. So that'll be out soon. Make sure you're following me at JR Drafts. I've been posting some funny memes, some good at Broncos analysis, I think. Then also make sure you're following the Let's Rock Broncos Facebook and Instagram. We're about to get a ton more active on there, both of them. So make sure you're following that. We also have a subreddit, or not a subreddit, a Discord. We have a Discord. So we're going to post that on Facebook. It was on Facebook earlier today, and the link is in the bio. So if you guys want to go follow that, you guys can go do that. We'll text back and forth with you guys, have fun conversation, all that. We have some people in there already. And then, draft show starts on Thursday with Frankie and I. Do that. Robbie's been amazing. Go follow Robbie _NFL, I think is his name. I'm going to make sure of that. But Zach, where can they find you?
At Zach_Seegers on Twitter, and then all my writing over at milehighsports.com. And then check out the Mile High Sports magazine. Just wrote an awards issue on David Roddy, as I probably shouldn't give away what award he won, but maybe he won an award, and you can read it over there. Check out Frankie and Robbie's work. They are part of the LTB family now. They're doing awesome work for us. Tomorrow, we're going to have a special film breakdown of the Titans game from both of them, looking at different plays. So stop by tomorrow and get smarter with us.
Yeah, so if you're on Twitter, make sure you're following Robbie at Robbie_NFL. And then if Frankie's at Frankie's Film. Make sure you're following both those guys. Love them both.
They've been on the screen for like a good 3 minutes, but I appreciate you going to look those up.
Damn.
You can follow me over on Twitter, Bree Maestas 303. You can also find me every single day here with the Let's Talk Broncos crew, 1 to 2 p.m. on Mondays for the Fan Cave, and just about anywhere else you can listen to Mile High Sports. We appreciate you. We love you, and good night.